Social confidence is the only thing standing between you and the things you want in life. If you're somebody who grew up skinny, fat or unfit or whatever, or relatively unattractive, and you kind of spent your youth mindlessly, you just went with the flow. You know, you watch these TV shows, this anime with these wimpy men getting to know beautiful girls, and those girls become very involved in their life, and then eventually they have a wonderful romantic story, and you wish that happens to you. You understand inside that popularity, being respected and admired, and being very, very competent, and have enough power as a guy so that you're able to protect people and provide value, and be the guy that everybody relies on. But you were taught to be contented with where you are. You've kind of just accepted your characteristics as fixed and something you can't do anything about, and that's just who you are. You know, being that introvert, being that guy who nobody really relies on, nobody really looks at, being the kind, selfless guy who gives himself for other people, but when he needs help, nobody reaches out to him, and you feel resentful for that, and you feel sad about it. Some rainy days you listen to these sad songs, you know, ruminating on, oh, nobody reaches out to me when I'm in pain. But the only reason you're angry is because somewhere inside of you find it to be unfair. You find these fixed characteristics you have, the fact that you're introverted, the fact that you are shy, the fact that you are unattractive, you aren't super tall, super jacked, super competent and reliable, and being popular is just not part of your skill tree. And you've kind of accepted that these are the cards that you have. You're born with these characteristics and you're just going to have to play the game. And this social confidence, the difference between you and that guy who has everything you want, the difference between you and feeling like a reliable person, between you and that romantic story that you dream about, between you and competence and the beautiful, genuine relationships you want to build, is social confidence. The thing is, when you don't have social confidence, when you're somebody who lacks that, you are somebody who just goes with the flow. Whatever happens to you in your surroundings, you as a person would just be blown in that direction. You just flow with where the river goes. You have no power and no ability to decide for yourself what you want to do. You wait for opportunities, you wait for events to happen to you, you wait for that person you're interested in to start the conversation with you, you wait for an opportunity to show you care about this person rather than showing it deliberately. If these opportunities don't just come to you, you don't deliberately go after them. And I'm the only person who will be honest with you because I don't know you, right? You should be ashamed of being this shy, lonely guy, this guy who's always at the mercy of other people's choices. You should be ashamed. When you were in your mother's belly, they had so much anticipation for you. So much was done to get you to this point, this age. You know, your mother made so many sacrifices, so many ancestors fought their way to survival for you to come to this earth. And you're telling me that when you come out, you're okay with just being this shy, timid guy who's tiny, who doesn't hold any power or influence, who keeps to himself, lets the world take him wherever, who's a victim to everything, who talks to himself in his own head like he's the victim. Oh, nobody's reaching out to me when I'm crying and when I'm alone. Like, all these people didn't make all these sacrifices, didn't show you so much care so consistently for you to watch hentai, for you to play video games non-stop, for you to play mobile games, for you to sit with these Discord e-kittens and talk about superficial problems until 3 a.m. in the middle of the night with people that you don't even respect that much on Discord. You weren't raised for this shit. And the story you want, the life you want, the magic, the confidence, the popularity, the love, the admiration, the respect, everything you want is behind social confidence. All you need is to build social confidence and your life will go up. And these fantasies you dream of, you have control over them. You need to trust me. And this is so scary to talk about because so many people would shame you if you try to get more socially confident. If you fit a certain expectation of what people think of you, and then one day you try to be a little bit more deliberate, you try to speak to a little bit more people, it gets scary, right? What if somebody says like, oh, what are you trying to do? Oh, you're so brave today, wow. How come you're so social and energetic today? And you're afraid people point out those differences and try to shame you. If anyone tries to shame you for this shit, it reflects their own insecurity because they understand that they are resentful because they've allowed and accepted that they are just not that competent, capable, reliable, popular, confident guy. They've already accepted that for themselves. So seeing you try, seeing you build yourself up, they're going to shame you for it. They're going to be afraid. They're going to almost feel threatened by it. If you're somebody who's shy and timid, from the perspective of somebody who is socially confident, they will look down on you. They won't be threatened by you at all. As a guy, you should feel some kind of like oh fuck, you know. You should have some sort of repulsion to that, some sort of fear to that. There are guys looking at you knowing in their head with 100% certainty that they can beat the shit out of you if they want. They have status above you, they have resources above you, they're more powerful than you, they have more friends than you, and they look at you like, oh, luckily I'm not that guy. There are people thinking that way when they see you. Only I'm willing to be honest with you, these people will never say it, but in their heads, they will look at you knowing that, you know, in a world without rules, with their pure physicality and their status, they could take everything from you if they wanted to. Because you're shy, timid, unconfrontational, and you withdraw so easily. They look at you and they genuinely think to themselves, this guy has nothing on me. And they don't even consider you as a threat or anyone that could stand side by side to them. And another thing, if you lack social confidence, how are you going to help anybody? You won't even have the confidence to go up to that person and say, hey, can I help? You won't even be able to offer any value you have, because you wouldn't dare to even claim that you have anything of value to provide. You won't even dare to do that. When you lack social confidence, the potential life you can have versus the life you're having right now is so far apart. Lacking social confidence diminishes your depth of personality, your depth of character. Lacking social confidence reduces your chance of offering your help. Lacking social confidence reduces your opportunities to show who you really are, to prove to yourselves what your principles are, because you won't dare to act, because you hesitate before acting. Lacking social confidence fucks up your relationships. You're too shy and timid to reach out to that person because you're afraid they don't feel the same way about you. And what if they're sitting there waiting for you to reach out to them? They wish you would. They wish you would show some care to them, but you're there sitting there in fear because you're afraid that if you do reach out to them and they don't see you the same way, then you're going to be too desperate, too needy, and you're going to push them away. And because you think that way of yourself, how are you going to capitalize on an opportunity to deepen your relationships? Lacking social confidence destroys your life in every fucking way imaginable. And no matter what people will say about it, no matter how people will say, oh, it's actually fine to be shy and timid, who cares about what it's fine to do? It is ideally and more objectively desirable for you to be more social confident. So why would they come up to you and say, oh, there's nothing wrong with being shy and being timid and keeping to yourself and withdrawing and having low self-worth? You know, we care about you too, because they want to keep you weak. They don't want you to face that pressure, the anxiety of needing to get better, needing to be a more competent person, so that you would stay at the same spot like a good boy. Anyone who pretends like being more socially confident is somehow a bad thing, is just trying to fuck you in the ass. No, you shouldn't want this, you shouldn't want that. Why would you want to be more popular anyway? Why would you want to be more attractive? That's so superficial, that's so shallow. But yet they're there reaping the benefits of being more attractive than you, being more socially confident than you. And then they say these kinds of things to you. As the only person who's willing to be honest with you, having social confidence is going to change your life entirely. Having social confidence is exactly how you win, how you get the things you want, while being able to provide value to other people, while being that generous guy that other people respects and admires. Is the most desirable trait you can build, and it's absolutely buildable by anyone. If you deliberately try to get socially confident, in 3 to 6 months, you will wash everyone immediately around you. You wash most people you know, because none of them have ever taken it deliberately. They just, play with the cards they're dealt. They just follow the momentum of their good genetics, their good environment, and their decent habits growing up. But if you take it deliberately, if you actually try, you're gonna wipe them off, because everybody else is afraid of deliberately pushing themselves to get a little bit more socially confident. And everybody doesn't even know you can do that. They just assume that their characteristics are fixed, and they just stick in that spot where it's comfortable. But you are different. You've lived your life in this incredibly disadvantageous position. You've been quiet your whole life. You've been fat and ugly your whole life. You've always followed along. You've always been agreeable, but you never had your own chance to, lead, your own chance to suggest, your own chance to be reliable and admired. And if you want that, what you're going to need is social confidence. Well, I'm not Christian, but I'm just going to make this analogy, right? But imagine if you go to heaven and you see God, and God sits you down. And then beside who you are, He lists all your characteristics and achievements, and beside that list of all the things you've done in this life and who you've met and all these things, you look beside that list, and and it's who you could have been. It was the ideal version of yourself. You look vastly different, literally a whole different person. And you've met all these different kinds of people, and you look at this fucking list 10 times longer than your current one that you've died achieving. And you look at this 10 times longer list. It lists 100 times the amount of achievements, 100 times the amount of people met, 100 times the amount of stories, 100 times the amount of adventure and risks and conquests. And you know what's the difference between these two stories? Social confidence. Because with social confidence, your willingness to show interest in people, your willingness to go out of your way to help someone without the thoughts of, oh, I'm going to be a hassle, or I'm not even going to provide that much value, so I should just get out of the way. Without those thoughts, the amount of people you're going to meet is going to be so much more, because more things become an opportunity to you. And because you're more socially confident, you're more willing to go to the gym, even though there's other people who would potentially judge you. Because you're socially confident, you're just able to go to the gym anyway. And because of that, you make more progress. Can you see how that would reflect in every achievement you have? In every endeavor you have? You're just going to be willing to do more things because you're more socially confident. You're going to be more willing to work harder, more willing to learn from others, more willing to provide more value, more willing to be more generous, more willing to be kinder, more willing to practice your principles. Without social confidence, you're becoming this husk that lacks character, that just follows wherever the wind blows. The basics to build social confidence are competence and facing discomfort deliberately. Think of it like a game. You gain XP by facing discomfort. It's as simple as that. There's something called social resilience, and you only build that by, going through cognitive behavioral therapy, facing what you find to be uncomfortable and exposing yourself to it to a small amount and let that amount increase and increase. And in order to build robust social confidence, you have to make sure that you have the competence to back it up. A lot of people say external validation doesn't matter. But I think that other people, assign value to things. And because you operate in kind of a social landscape, humans are social animals, right? So we're going to respect what is found to be valuable within the tribe. And a lot of these traits that are valuable is determined by what other people think. And that's just the way it goes. There's nothing to complain about that. Of course, you will have your own principles and things like that, but generally what is found to be valuable is what other people determine it to be. And if you're able to build your competence, if your perceived value and your perceived potential is higher, more people are going to want to get to know you. And not only that, that knowledge that you are going somewhere, that knowledge that you are more competent in this field or that field will reflect in how you carry yourself, because you will understand deep down that you are capable of providing value to these people. So in some way, you are more deserving of being amongst them. And you can talk about how transactional this is, how sad it is that you have to provide value, if not you'll be discarded. But isn't it such a beautiful thing as well? Imagine if we gave everyone equal value for just existing as a human being. Where the fuck is the beauty in that? Where's the complexity in that? Where's the humanity in that? Then everything would just be blurry. If everybody is equally valuable when one is a leader, incredibly competent, incredibly resourceful, and one guy just leeches off the rest, if both of them are the same amount of value, where's the complexity in that? How does that make any sense? In order to provide competence, what you need is to become a resourceful person. And resourceful person doesn't just mean being financially capable. Being resourceful comes in every area of competency. Because, for example, in a context like school, what would be considered competency? What would be resourceful? Knowledge, right? If you're good at your studies, people will seek help from you. People will respect you for putting in that effort to have a high level of competency in your academic work. If you're fit and jacked, people look up to you. It's resourceful because you've garnered some level of power and control within your own life, and other men will respect that. And not only that, because of your knowledge, because of how much work you've put into yourself, it reflects value. It reflects that you are willing and capable enough, and you respect yourself enough to organize a plan, a structured plan to help you achieve some sort of goal, and you're able to put in that work. And a conscientious person is valued. And not only that, Other guys will benefit from it because it shows some level of status and competence and power, and they want to learn from you as well. They want to find out how you got so jacked. They want to be around you because just having that physical appearance that you can provide value is going to be status for them as well. Resourcefulness also comes in your mental capacity, your mental health, right? What good are you if somebody speaks to you and you don't even have the mental capacity to listen? Your mental health is so shit, you're so worried about your own stuff, you're so insecure, you lack self-worth to the point where when somebody confides in you, somebody needs you to listen to them, needs your help, you don't even have the mental capacity to sit there and listen to them because you're too worried about your own problems. So mental capacity is actually incredibly important, and it reflects your resourcefulness a lot. Can you see how so many other factors play into what it means to be resourceful and competent? Competency also can come in very, particular realms of endeavor. Like maybe you're really good at music, maybe you're really talented at this specific thing, you can draw really well. Just being able to prove that you're able to do something, you've dedicated your time to something, you're willing to do better in certain areas, tells other people that you are somebody capable and valuable and possibly reliable. And for other people who are in the same realm as you, in the same endeavors as you, maybe you're an artist or you play really good piano, if other people are also seeking that, if they also value becoming more competent in art in their own life or becoming better at the piano in their own life, they're going to look up to you even more because the value you can provide them is even further. Not only do you have the passion to kind of reinforce their love for the activity, but you have the knowledge to teach them. You have the proof and the reminder that they could be like you when they put in the work. Resourcefulness comes in so many aspects, and competence is one of the most fundamental things you need if you want to build robust social confidence, because you can pretend however you like. You can fake it till you make it with all your fucking confidence tactics and things like that, hold eye contact for this amount of time, don't text back so quickly, do all these stupid confidence tactics. You can do all that, or you can just become actually confident by becoming so remarkably competent, or by shaping your life in such an organized and structured way whereby you remove all the bad habits to completely optimize your mental capacity, your health, and the speed you're making progress. And with all that knowledge and all that determination, you are proving that you can and you are somebody of value. So competence is incredibly important. Next is your ability to progressively overload facing discomfort. Because let's define what confidence is, right? Confidence is always something that is specific to a certain realm. You're gonna have to build up your social confidence in that social realm itself by building up your practice, your ability to face discomfort. And you do that by increasing your time in the game. You do that by focusing on things that make you feel uncomfortable and trying to expand in that area. It's like you're in a box right now and these are all your fears. You need to constantly push. Otherwise, these fears will continue to box you in. Not only will you not get better, you don't just stay anxious. You don't just stay socially anxious. You get worse and worse. It deteriorates because you start to reinforce all these shortcomings to yourself. So, when we want to build social confidence, we need to always test the boundaries. We need to face our fears. We need to face discomfort and make it deliberate by forcing ourselves to get better in those realms. And that sounds scary as fuck, but it's very, very doable. And what else is there to life? To sit there and just accept what is and what isn't? You're living a life of so much scarcity, you don't have time to think about all this spiritual horseshit, alright? We need to get you to deliberately face discomfort. Kind of like it's a game. Every time you face discomfort, you get a certain amount of XP depending on how big the discomfort is. Let's say right now you're so afraid of even holding eye contact with people. Gaining XP would be going out there the next day and trying to hold eye contact for at least 0.5 seconds and trying to push it to 1 second. That will be humongous for you. And then you push it, you get to 1.5 seconds, you get to 2 seconds, you get to 3 seconds. Maybe one day in conversations and when you're on the street, you have zero fear of eye contact. You can hold it for however the fuck long you want. That's immense progress. Now let's look at things like your conversation skills. You only are afraid of it and you're only nervous about it because you lack practice. It's as simple as that. If you're afraid of the gym, for example, if you fucking went there every single day, maybe like 5 times a day, let's say you're not even training, you just go there just to face your fear, you're not going to be afraid of the gym anymore. So everything is about deliberately facing discomfort. And you can kind of create this kind of level system where you face a little bit more discomfort every day, and you do that through self-analysis. You sit at home, and when you rehearse your conversations, when you do this socially anxious thing where you kind of replay the conversations in your head, or I did this, that shit felt awkward as fuck, oh fuck, why did I do that? Instead of doing that in your head, you do it on a piece of paper, and you deliberately analyze it. You look at it from a third person's point of view. What would ideal me do in this situation if it happens again? What would I say? How would it feel? If the most socially confident version of me sat through this event, what would go through his head? What would he do about it? How would he react? What would he say to other people around him? How would he feel? All these things you analyze, and you think about what is the best way to go about it. And the next day you try it. And if it's not the best way, you go back to the drawing board. Oh, I'll do this, I'll try this. And if it's too scary, you kind of build up to it. So let's say, today I had this conversation. It was incredibly awkward. So tomorrow I'm going to try to give a compliment or something like that to, escalate, to show this person that I care about them. So I'm going to give them a compliment. And compliments sound terrifying, but if you set a goal to give a light compliment to start with instead of a very genuine one, right? Like you make it very shallow, very quick, very not emotional. You just quickly shit out the shitty compliment like something as simple as I appreciate you, man, instead of thank you. You see how that's a level up? That's a little bit more vulnerable. And facing discomfort in of itself is a practice of vulnerability, because it's putting yourself out there. You're getting closer and closer to the things you genuinely want to express. And this is a skill you have to level up. It's a form of resilience. Again, social confidence is something that stands between you and everything you want. Everything. Really everything. Everything you can think of. Social confidence will get you closer to that. It is something you need if you want to be a respectable guy that your parents respect, that your friends respect. Can you imagine if you disappeared, or you kept quiet about it, you worked on it for 3 to 6 months, you deliberately face your discomfort every day? If you actually tried, you've never actually tried anything, right? But imagine if you actually tried at this, you'll be vastly different. Everybody's going to talk about you differently. Everybody's going to see you differently. They're going to see the way you present yourself in 3 to 6 months and go like, what the fuck? How did he do that? You can absolutely do it, and there's nothing stopping you from doing it. The only thing stopping you from doing it is yourself, is your fears, is your limiting beliefs. When I first started to improve myself, I still remember I had to stay back a year in junior college, and during the holiday, after the exams, because I failed all the exams, I started to work out because I was disappointed with how insufficient I was as a person, and I liked this girl for the entire year. We've only spoke like fucking 3 times maybe in the whole span of the year. What the fuck? We had a couple interactions during orientation, and then while I was working out, I was doing the skipping rope. I stopped for a while and I was like, fuck it, why don't I confess to that girl? If I'm gonna change my life and stop being this fearful guy, stop being this timid guy who hides behind his excuses, I gotta do this. This is it. This is the calling, So I took out my phone, I went to the chat and I said some fucking formal ass confession like, hey, I really like you, please go out with me. And she goes, haha, confirm, someone dare you. Yeah, but hey, I took it like a good boy, and then we got back to work, and from then on I never missed much training sessions at all, really. And then when I started to want to become more social, when I deliberately tried, when I did everything I could to try, analyze myself every single night, the change I made in 3 months was ridiculous. I texted her in maybe November, and I started working on my fitness for about a few months before March. And when March hit, right, I started focusing on my social confidence and really trying to become more respected, really trying to make more friends. And I did this through daily reading and meditation and journaling. I would analyze myself, I would work on my mindfulness through meditation, and then I would go to school every single day and face a little bit more discomfort. I would speak to someone I was afraid of. I would do this. Everything that was scary to me, I knew I could do it eventually if I tried hard enough. And I did it, and one by one step at a time. What a fucking gruesome journey. Everything was so uncomfortable, but I did it, and I did it, and I did it. And in 3 months from And in 3 months, from like January to April, even though I only started really taking it seriously in March, really only meditating and journaling in March, by April, I went from somebody who was socially anxious and fat and lazy and played Genshin Impact and watched hentai and talked to Discord moderators over the night until 5 a.m. every single night. I went from that guy. In 3 months, I became somebody who was fit. From socially anxious, I went to somebody who performed on stage twice to beatbox, doing something fucking retarded, doing something people would find to be very lame and cringe. I started to spar boxing with people from other classes. I brought guys to my classroom, or we would meet after school. You know, I made my first ever group of guy friends who we would hang out together often. I changed my life from these principles, and you can too. And anybody who tries to stop you, anybody who calls you cringe, anybody who villainizes you for wanting to take things deliberately and actually try at changing your life because that's somehow bad, they're all just afraid. They're afraid that if you change, if you put in the effort, it will say something about them. And if you actually make the progress, it will say something even more about them. That means they could have done the same this whole time, but they were too afraid to. And it would admit to you that you are better for taking that first step, for facing this discomfort. If you want to become a more socially confident person, link is in the description below. I'll lay out everything I know about building social confidence, all the books I've read, all the experiences I had. I'll lay it out all in an organized form for you if you're really interested in actually changing. Other than that, social confidence is legitimately everything you need. Everything you need between you and the person you want to be. So get to work. You got this. It's a better work.